So this is part two. Um, where I was leaving off. So after we got home from the vet, I knew there was something really wrong, and like a few days had passed, and like my mom was still kind of all right. You could tell her motor skills weren't where they should be. And then her face started drooping. She had a stroke from hitting her head. And I just remember like everything was just downhill from that point. She couldn't really have like coherent conversations anymore. She really was asking me a lot of stuff because I've been doing what I've been doing for a while now, and she was asking me a lot of stuff about the seraphim angels. There was a lot of weird stuff that she was like talking about, and this whole time I'm like, I didn't want to even entertain or accept the fact that my mom might be not doing good, and not being able to get through this. And it got to a point where it was a whole month of me just like walking her up and down the stairs. I'd called other family members for help, and a lot of the times I was really just like my mom's palliative care nurse, and I had a lot of anger and resentment towards my family members who I asked for help and didn't help. And looking back, I feel bad now because towards the end I said like don't come over, and that was not nice to do to my brother specifically. I told him not to come see my mom, but I was so hurt and so angry that like when I really needed somebody to help me help my mom, like nobody really cared. But it really took a turn the end of June. I just remember my mom got out of bed one day and she just collapsed, and she started taking all of her jewelry off, and she gave it to me, and she said, I have to go to the hospital. We had to call an ambulance to come pick her up. Guys, this is where the story gets a little bit weird. There's some things that happened after this process that I've never really shared with very many people, but I feel really compelled just to tell it. So that was probably on the Thursday or Friday she was taken to the hospital. And on the Saturday, and this is like when COVID was going on in the hospitals and stuff, that was the Saturday was the last time I ever saw and had a coherent conversation with my mom. And I just remember, trying to help change her diapers and stuff, and I couldn't do it. My mom was, she was really just at that point, like I didn't realize, but she had just, through everything that she had gone through over the years, and there's so much more that I just didn't want to disclose. I don't want to put all of, all the stuff out that happened with my dad, but she really had been through it, and she was really at the point of like, I'm done, I give up. And I remember my mom always said to me, she said, don't let me go to a hospice. I want to go home. I want to come home. I don't want to die in a hospice by myself. And my dad was pushing. He had doctors from the hospital calling me saying she needs to go into a hospice. And I said, no, we're coming to get her. She's coming home. And like me and my dad couldn't even get her out of the wheelchair. She had to be driven to our house in an ambulance and a stretcher, because by the time she got back to my house, she couldn't speak. She couldn't. I just remember like they were putting a catheter in, and she just was like, she really wasn't there. And I really didn't even get the chance to be able to talk to her again after that. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to like compose myself. And it really went downhill from there. And I remember the Saturday that I went to the hospital to see her, I got home, and I just remember being so, this whole process, the whole month of June when all of this was happening, I was so disassociated from everything that was going on, so much so that when I got home from the hospital on the Saturday, and there was a starling on my front porch with its head cut off beside its body, I just went to the garage, got a shovel, and I buried it. in my yard, and I didn't even, think twice about it. And this store that I go to by my house to get crystals and stuff like that, I had brought it up, and they were just like, ooh, and I just, this whole time I was so disassociated from whatever was going on. So here's where it gets tough, you guys. My mom ended up passing away I truly believe she passed away when I was in her room with her. And I remember going, and for 2 weeks before this all happened, I was just meditating every single day. And I just remember waking up out of a dead sleep, and this was like 11 o'clock at night, and something inside me was just like, leave my room. I opened my bedroom door, and my dad was sitting in my mom's room bawling his eyes out and talking to her. And my first instinct was, leave her alone, like, she's resting, leave her alone. The first words out of his mouth to me were, where's your mother's bank card? Instead of, hey, he knew that she had passed away. He knew that she was gone, and he was literally talking to her. That never crossed his mind to say, hey, we should call somebody, your mother's passed away. He then proceeded to go to bed to sleep in the spare room, went and got ready for work with my mother's body in the room the next morning, and left for work. And I got up, and I had to find my mother's body, and I had to call the nurses, and I had to deal with everything because he just didn't have the capacity to do it. He didn't have the capacity to do the right thing. So after my mom passed away, I relapsed with drugs. It was really, really tough. I had a really important person come into my life, which they really helped me get sober and pushed me to do my content, what I'm doing right now, which was really special, really important. And for the first 6 months after my mom had passed, and so this is a whole nother thing, because of the PTSD, I've been diagnosed with PTSD. My doctor has it, whatever. I don't resonate with that. Like, I don't label myself as that, but I don't know, from a medical standpoint, it's PTSD apparently. I need to take a break. Hold on. I'm sorry. I really just needed to take a breather. This is the first time I've really told this story and told these details on my platform on such a large scale. I'm doing the best I can here to articulate what I went through. But from all of the trauma, from finding my mother's body, from everything that I had gone through the past few months, I actually had a police report. I filed a police report against my dad because I thought that something had happened that shouldn't have, but it was like the PTSD, the trauma. Like, I thought something happened, and it was the whole, when he asked for her debit card, just really triggered a bunch of stuff, along with, relapsing into addiction again, because I just was so traumatized. And so, my mom, if you know me, my mom was my best friend. She was such an incredible person, and she really, she was a hairdresser. So many people knew her. Anybody who knew her loved her, and nobody really knew. I mean, everybody knew about my dad and what he was doing, and, but I don't think anybody really knew how much she really suffered in that situation. And it was really hard for a lot of the times I was there, to see it. I heard, my mom would be sitting in her chair at night, and my dad would just start drinking and just saying the worst things to her. And I was always just like, I can't get up, I can't go down there, I don't want to start any problems with him because he's drinking. And it's like, and this was when this woman was on her deathbed. Go to part 3.